The boar's head in hand bear I, bedecked with bay and rosemary. So I pray you, my masters, be merry, quod estis in convivio.
My lords, ladies, and those others of you out there listening, a very Merry Christmas to you all. What a day we have had of it here at King Henry's court, but the season is just beginning, and we have 12 more days of parties and banquets ahead, which is something of a relief, for we have just spent the days of Advent fasting. It is a season of atonement in which a good Christian should prepare themselves spiritually for the coming of Christ. We're supposed to do a penance and fast, avoiding meat, cheese, and eggs until Christmas Day, when the feasting begins in earnest. But great preparations have been going on throughout the fast, and I can assure you we all appreciate it after the restricted fare of Advent. And what a feast we have had today! We started our banquet with plum porridge. This lines the stomach before the rich dinner to come. It is a thick broth of mutton or beef, boiled in a skin with plums, spices, dried fruits, breadcrumbs, and wine. Then, to the first course, the boar's head. The dish is boned and stuffed with forcemeat, a mixture of ground lean meat, smeared with mustard, dressed in herbs and fruit, with a roasted apple in its mouth, and garnished with gilded rosemary, bay leaves, spices, fruits, or a sprig of yew whitened with egg or flour to make it look as if it's been dusted with snow. It is my favourite part of the banquet, when the dish is ceremonially carried in, resplendent on its platter, by the steward or the head of the household. Christmas is truly here when I see that. Of course, there's also a popular carol about the boar's head. The boar's head in hand bear I, bedecked with may and rosemary. So I pray you, my masters, be merry, quod estis in convivio. Caput epri defero, redens laudes Domino. The boar's head, as I understand, is the rarest dish in all the land. When thus bedecked with a gay garland, let us servire cantico. Caput apri defero, redens laudes Domino. I bet you didn't know that turkey is also a very popular dish for us in King Henry's court, now did you? The first turkeys arrived in England from the New World in 1526, and we adore it for its rich flavour. It is a very fine dish indeed, and sometimes it is served instead of peacock or swan, although here we have all three. Another common Christmas feast dish is souse, pickled pig's feet and ears. Another divine part of the banquet is when the Christmas pies are served. These pies are made from shredded leftover meats, preferably mutton, in commemoration of the shepherds that visited the baby Jesus, to which they add suet, sugar, dried fruits, and spices. The spices and gilding hark back to the gifts of the Magi, the three wise men, and proclaim the status of the host. Some pies are even gilded. There are 13 ingredients in total in honour of Christ and his apostles, and these pies are huge and cut with spoons. It's unlucky to cut them with knives. To drink, there is wassail, drinking a toast to the fruit trees to produce a good crop. Large wooden bowls holding up to a gallon of punch are used, containing hot ale or cider, sugar, spices and apples, with a crust of bread in the bottom. Some of these brews are called lambswool, which is made from roasted apples, beer, nutmeg, ginger and sugar, and the name comes from the froth on top. It is offered to the most important person in the household first, who will drink from the bowl and pass it on. There are hundreds, and I mean literally hundreds of us at the King's banquet. He hosts great feasts, shows immense hospitality throughout the 12 days of Christmas, and the dinner is the start of refined affairs. But the mirth grows as the evening wears on, and only last year the King took to pelting his guests with sugar plums. The hall is decorated so beautifully. There is a vast kissing bough suspended from the ceiling. It is a ball of evergreens such as holly, ivy and bay stuck with apples, and of course a sprig of mistletoe. The custom of hanging a ball of mistletoe and exchanging kisses under it as a sign of friendship is an ancient one. The Romans observed that the Druids of the British Isles used mistletoe in winter solstice ceremonies and for healing. Despite that, there was a medieval belief that Christ's cross had been formed from the wood of the mythical mistletoe tree, and churches and abbeys have always banned mistletoe because of its pagan connections, with one exception, at York Minster, where a bunch of mistletoe is laid on the altar every Christmas. As you can see, we bring the greenery indoors, and even trees. The fir tree is a symbol, a Christian symbol, and its evergreen branches represent eternal life. Legend has it that one winter's night in 1536, the German reformer Martin Luther was walking through a pine forest near his home in Germany when he looked up and saw thousands of stars glinting dew-like amongst the branches of the trees. So the story goes. This wondrous sight inspired him to set up a candlelit fir tree in his house that Christmas to remind his children of the starry heavens whence their Saviour came. There was even a tree set up in London Street, and the idea is becoming most popular. The feasting, pageantry and convivial merrymaking are presided over not by the king or by the master of the household, but by the Lord of Misrule, or the Master of Merry Disports, who acts as master of ceremonies and takes charge of the Christmas revelry. In the first year of King Henry VIII's reign, his Lord of Misrule impudently asked his sovereign for £5 towards his expensive. "If it shall like your grace to give to me much," he added mischievously, "I will give you none again, and if your grace give me too little, I shall ask for more." Henry was greatly amused. There's also a medieval custom we follow of the boy bishops, and these boys, often choir boys, are allowed the same privileges of Lords of Misrule from the 6th of December to Holy Innocents' Day on the 28th of December. They wear miniature vestments, mitres and croziers. They're referred to as if they are real bishops, and they enjoy actual episcopal power and take all the services the adult bishop would take, apart from Mass. Once Holy Innocents' Day arrives, things change, and in remembrance of King Herod ordering the slaying of all infant boys under 2 in an attempt to destroy the Christ infant, children are whipped, perhaps not too hard, to remind them of the suffering of the murdered innocents. However, for the rest of the day, they are allowed greater licence and even permitted to play in church. It really is a children's feast. But even after this day, we still have several more days of Christmas left. We really do celebrate the 12 days. We can thank King Alfred the Great for this, when in the 9th century he enshrined in law the importance of keeping the church's feasts. He commanded there should be a holiday on Christmas days and the 12 days that followed. For it is believed that the Magi journeyed for 12 days to see the infant Christ. During this period of 12 days, no free man shall be compelled to work. Even the peasants do not work for these 12 days. All work stops, except the looking after of animals. Even spinning is banned, and flowers are placed around the spinning wheels to stop them being used. Instead, people visit friends and family. As for us at court, we entertain ourselves in whatever way we can. Sometimes the Thames freezes over and the people play football on the ice. One year, King Henry VIII and Jane Seymour, having attended a service in St Paul's Cathedral, spurred their horses across the frozen river and galloped to the Surrey shore, making for Greenwich Palace, where they kept a lavish Christmas court. Christmas celebrations include hunting and outdoor sports. At court, there is shuttlecock, skittles and entertainers such as acrobats, tumblers and fire eaters, as well as jesters and much tomfoolery. The boisterous and sometimes rough Hoodman Blind is a very popular game and very silly. New Year's Eve is the most popular time for these games and for gifts. That is when we exchange them and not a day before. In his first year as king, Henry spent the equivalent of £400,000 on presents, including suits for his servants and collars for his hound. Every important person is expected to give the monarch a gift and receive one in return. A list of all gifts called the gift roll is written. Acceptance or rejection of a gift is a very meaningful thing. For example, in 1532, the king accepted Anne Boleyn's gift but rejected Catherine of Aragon's. The two were married the next year. Myself, like other women in the court, embroider Henry's shirts with intricate black work, and other craftsmen show off their skills too. For example, Hans Holbein presented the king with a painting of his son, Edward, which was given as a Christmas gift. Then it will soon be Twelfth Night, when masks and pageants are staged. These are the most glorious occasions, with lavishly dressed lords and ladies mingling with players in fantastic costumes and halls lit by torches and candles. And there is the most sumptuous banquet on 12th night. An enormous cake is baked, containing dried fruit, flour, honey, and spices. Inside the cake is a bean or queen and a pea. Slices are offered to guests as they arrive, men and women taking them from the left and the right respectively. The lucky man and woman who find the pea and the bean will be crowned king and queen of the bean or pea for the evening and lead the singing and dancing and disports. Once it is all over, the decorations must come down, sometimes at midnight, for it is very bad luck to leave them up any longer. For the power of the Christ child no longer holds sway, and if the greenery is not put outside again, the tree spirits will bring disaster to the household in the coming year. The Feast of Epiphany on the 6th of January is the last great day of processions, feasts, festivity and fun. Christmas must come to an end. It is time to clear up the mess, get back to work, or settle back to normal life. On Plough Monday, the first Monday after Epiphany, people go back to work. Most farmers take it in turns to use a communal plough, which is kept in the church during the 12 days of Christmas, with a plough light burning before the sacrament or rood screen until Plough Monday, when the younger men of the parish collect the plough, harness themselves to it, and drag it around demanding money from people, and ploughing up the ground in front of their house if they refuse. Here at court, the Yuletide season officially ends on the 2nd of February with a solemn celebration of Candlemas, the feast of the purification of the Virgin Mary, when the King and Queen go in procession to Mass. On this feast day, the churches are ablaze with candles and packed with worshippers. My lord, see how late it is. I must to bed. It is only the first day, and I'll be too tired to enjoy the festivities if I sit chatting to you any longer. But before I take my leave, I bid you to make one of these, a pomander, an orange with cloves, which smells divine and makes your home smell just as Christmassy as it possibly can. So, my dear friends, I bid you adieu, and a Merry Christmas to those who you love and hold dear. Season's greetings to you all, and fare thee well.
To the town